the setting has become notorious in recent months, the press briefing by the Oval Office fireplace. On Thursday, it'll be the German Chancellor's turn to be thrown into the fire as Friedrich Merz meets Donald Trump for lunch at the White House, followed by a joint press appearance. Recent Oval Office meetings with even traditional allies have proven to be unpredictable and often tense experiences. So what can Chancellor Merz expect from this encounter? Our political reporter Matthew Moore has the details.
Since taking office, Friedrich Merz has made it his mission to keep Donald Trump at Europe's side. I would like to thank the US President for his personal commitment in recent weeks.
Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning.
But recent Oval Office encounters suggest that Merz will need to be on guard when he enters the lion's den. From tariffs to the far-right AfD, let's take a look at 5 potential flashpoints. 1. Defence and Ukraine. Donald Trump says that Germany has skimped on military spending while enjoying US protection. Per head spending on defence shows the vast difference. Merz has recently embraced Trump's demand for 5% defence spending in NATO, but Trump might not like the fine print that some of that would go to infrastructure. And on the issue of support for Ukraine, Trump has hit out at Europeans for doing too little at the US's expense. 2. Big tech and free speech. This is one issue where the two sides are at odds. Trump world thinks German and EU rules on content moderation are censorship, an attack on free speech. The Europeans and Merz want big tech to clamp down on harmful content and pay more tax. Just days before Merz's visit, Germany added fuel to the fire by floating plans to slap a 10% levy on Meta and Alphabet. 3. Migration. Donald Trump has long bashed Germany over this issue. In 2015, he said Angela Merkel was destroying Germany after she welcomed 1 million refugees fleeing war.
She's in the process of destroying Germany.
The president's inner circle frames mass migration as an existential threat to European identity and culture.
I believe there is nothing more urgent than mass migration.
Now, Merz is taking a tougher line on irregular migration than his predecessors. Could that defuse the issue, or will Trump double down? 4. Trade and tariffs. For years, Donald Trump has fumed that Germany sells more to the US than it buys. He hit German cars with 25% tariffs, which have been paused for now. Merz will have to explain why tariffs are bad for business and that trade with Germany is a win-win. 5. AfD. Trump's team has courted Germany's far-right AfD party. First, there was Elon Musk.
Fight for a great future for Germany. Fight for a great future for Germany.
Then there was J.D. Vance's bombshell intervention in the German elections when he called on political leaders to work with the AfD.
There's no room for firewalls.
After Germany's security services labelled the AfD as a right-wing extremist threat to democracy, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio called it tyranny in disguise. If that comes up, Merz could be under huge pressure. All of these issues could make for an explosive showdown in the Oval Office. Much will depend on whether the German Chancellor can keep his cool.
So as you heard, there have been some infamous Oval Office encounters recently. Earlier, DW asked Friedrich Merz's spokesperson how the German Chancellor was preparing.
Before the press briefing, which will probably take place in the Oval Office, there will also be bilateral talks with the delegations. There will be a lunch, so they will have plenty of time to iron out any discrepancies or disagreements and to get to like each other. And in this respect, the Chancellor is looking forward to the situation with great confidence.
Yes, but this is also a physical matter. So are there also breathing techniques, quick-wittedness training?
I don't think the Chancellor has had time to physically prepare for this encounter in the last few days. He's taking it with great inner calm.
Dr. Louis Perron is a global political consultant and political scientist. He's also author of the book Beat the Incumbent: Proven Strategies and Tactics to Win Elections. Welcome to DW, Louis. Let's start with the wish list. What do you think, what does Chancellor Merz want from Donald Trump? What would count as a win for Germany from this meeting?
That's exactly how you should start, right? You should start with what's the goal to accomplish, because if you don't know what your goal is, how can you later assess whether it was successful or not? So I think in this case, since it's their first official meeting, I think the goal really is to establish a personal connection, to establish a direct line and some chemistry. And I think that's a challenge for somebody like Merz, because it's not exactly how Germans do things, but it's very important in this case, because for Donald Trump, everything is personal.
Right. And so is Trump going to be doing the same thing? So that I mean, on the one hand, that looks fine. They're both trying to do that. But they each want something else. So they want something material beyond the relationship. So what does Germany want for Germany from the United States?
Well, the big main thing, I guess, for Germany is, of course, the trade war, right? The tariffs, where Germany is vulnerable, and Trump knows it. He can smell weakness and vulnerability and use it to his advantage. But again, I think if I were Merz, I wouldn't start with that. I would try to start with a personal connection, with flatteries, maybe even with small talk, with finding common ground, with emphasizing things that you have in common. Really build a relationship first before you go to the nuggets and the hot topics. Ideally, even leaving them to the lower level.
Right. Donald Trump was famously dismissive of the former German Chancellor, Angela Merkel. Do we have any sense of what he thinks of Friedrich Merz?
Well, I mean, congratulations to Merz for doing this, because I actually know presidents and head of governments who are not all that keen on going to the White House because of some of the episodes that we have seen lately. But I think one thing that Merz certainly has going for himself is that he is not Angela Merkel. And I think in that sense, while Merz and Trump are very different personalities, very different characters, maybe not, you would think, best friends, best buddies, but I think it's a different starting point than there was with Angela Merkel. I think Merkel and Trump really didn't connect, and I think that's the thing that Merz is going for himself. He's not Angela Merkel.
Right. Let's start with let's talk about some of those scenes as you describe them. If the Chancellor Merz's team is preparing him for a Trump-Vance ambush in front of the press, which topics would you be briefing the Chancellor on?
Well, I think the tariffs. Obviously, Trump talks about the US being ripped off by other countries, and I think Germany is very much one of those countries that he has in his mind when he says those things. So yes, you need to prepare. I would even role play this. You don't know whether good mood, charming Trump will show up, or bad mood, confrontational Donald Trump will show up. And I think I would role play this. And,
okay, let's do that then. Let's do that. Let's do that now, right? I'll be Donald Trump, right? You be Friedrich Merz. Okay. So you're the German Chancellor. And we, the public, haven't seen you before. So I'm Donald Trump, and we've had a nice chat. We're sitting there with the fireplace behind us. We're sitting there with our legs open and chit-chatting. Then all of a sudden, I get really bolshy and I turn to Friedrich Merz and I say, well, what about this trade deficit? What about all these Mercedes? Why don't I see Cadillacs driving down big German streets? What are you going to do about that? How does Merz handle that confrontational approach?
So this is after I have emphasized that your father has roots in Germany. This is after I have invited you, maybe even, or told a story about that place where your father's ancestors are coming from. Oh, after this, right?
Right, yeah. This is when everything turns nasty, right? And I'm poking the finger at you, saying you need to buy more American cars. I don't want to see so many Mercedes cruising down our boulevards here in the US.
Yeah. I would have a few stories ready about German companies investing in the US that he may not be aware of, that may not be top of mind for him. So I would have a few goodies ready. But most importantly, don't take the bite. Right. For an escalation, as with Zelensky, I'm sorry to say, it does take two. Right. It does take two to tango. It does take two to escalate. So I think the key thing here is don't take the bite.
And we've seen that, haven't we? We've seen the difference in approach with these confrontations with Zelensky, as you say, and also with Cyril Ramaphosa, who was attacked in that session. And he stayed very calm and didn't rise to it.
Yeah. Yes, and I think there are other people who do it even better. I mean, Macron, Monsieur le Diplomate, is a master in dealing and handling Trump. Meloni from Italy, I think, has exactly established this sort of personal connection with him. I think Carney from Canada handled it reasonably okay under difficult circumstances. So these may be sources of inspiration for the Chancellor.
Friedrich Merz has, though, been critical of the Vice President, J.D. Vance's support for Germany's far-right AfD. Is that likely to colour proceedings in these notorious fireside chats?
It might come up. I think that's obviously something that J.D. Vance and others around him feel very strong about. I don't think, though, that's one of the issues where you have to be particularly pushing back. I think in such a situation, I would choose my battles. In the end, that's not really, anyway, not for the US to decide. It doesn't have a real impact for Germany. So I think something like the tariffs, that's much more essential for the country, Germany. With the AfD, maybe you can small talk, waltz your way out of the situation. Because, I mean, you could easily say that, yes, the AfD actually does bring up issues that are important. Doesn't cost you something politically to waltz your way out of the situation.
Just a final word on how these visits come about. How do they actually get arranged? Who calls who and says, do you fancy popping over, get your diary out?
Well, I think there's a long preparation going on at the diplomatic level, etc., before a meeting like this happens. But I think it's clear that Donald Trump likes to be flattered. He likes to be invited. He says this over and over again, that they're all kissing my butt. They're all so nice now. They're all calling me. And I think this gives you a hint on how to deal with the situation. So I think I would absolutely invite him to Germany.
OK, fascinating analysis, and we thank you for it. Global political consultant, Dr. Louis Perron. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, Jeff Rathke is a president of the American Institute for Contemporary German Studies at Johns Hopkins University. He's a former US Foreign Service officer as well. Good to see you, Jeff. The stage is very much set. The big issues are the war in Ukraine, tariff disputes and a question of Europe's contribution to its own security. I wonder, in your opinion, can Merz expect a hostile reception or a warm one?
Well, I think there is every opportunity that it could go in both directions. Merz is a new chancellor. He has a new governing program. He represents a break in some ways with Germany's policies of recent years. And so if Donald Trump is looking for a reason to get along with Germany's leader, I think you can find ample evidence in there. But we've also seen in the past that Donald Trump has a particular fixation on Germany for its export-driven model, for its manufacturing strength, as well as for other policies that we've just heard about in the opening segments. So Trump could try to create a spectacle around that, and that might have as much to do with the American news cycle as it does with the content of the meeting that he's having with Friedrich Merz.
Yeah, Merz is seen as a more forceful character on this side of the Atlantic. Does he carry that same reputation in Washington?
Well, Merz is well known here because he's been active not only as a political figure, but also in other capacities over many years and has traveled regularly to the United States. And there is no question that Germany is the dominant power in the European Union, the largest European economy, and that the policies Germany adopts and the course that Friedrich Merz pursues as Chancellor will have an enormous impact on Europe's overall direction.
A poll released today showed some Germans, or most Germans actually, are sceptical about Merz's ability when it comes to foreign policy. Jeff, do you think Merz will be able to regain Germany's standing on foreign issues?
Well, I'm not sure if it's a question of regaining stature, but I certainly think that he has a strong case to present, whether that is defense, where Germany has dramatically expanded its defense spending, as well as enabling almost unlimited borrowing to fund the Bundeswehr from this year forward, or if it's on the changes in migration policy, which align Germany more with the Trump administration's view of migration. And as well, there are so many success stories of German engagement, investment in the United States, that I think there is a strong case to make.
I guess then we can make that case that the US stands a chance here to get what it wants. Germany is the EU's biggest economy, as you say, to step into that bigger role when it comes to Europe and financing NATO.
Right, and I think Merz has been pretty clear from the time of the German election up to now about wanting Germany to be the strongest armed forces in Europe, of doing whatever it takes for German and European security. And I think that's a leadership role that Americans will welcome. And so he is well positioned to highlight that in his meeting in the White House tomorrow.
Big topics on the table and must-see TV. Jeff Rathke, President of the American Institute for Contemporary German Studies at Johns Hopkins University. Thanks so much for your time.
Pleasure.